ready. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out themichaeldukesshow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Oh, yeah, baby. Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on issues of a Second Amendment nature right here on the big radio program, The Michael Dukes Show. Good morning to you, TGIFF. Thank goodness it is Firearms Friday. I just realized my hair is everywhere this morning. It's a mess. Thank goodness you're on the radio and you can't see it, except for all those folks who are on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on, but it's just like, I mean, it just won't lay down this morning. It's ready to be up, and it's Friday, and we got lots of good stuff to talk about and discuss this morning on the big radio show. We're going to hit all the headlines of a 2A nature from around the world. Well, around the country and then around the world. We're going to talk a little bit this morning about Ukraine and what's going on over there. The president's State of the Union speech, where he once again doubled down on all the things that haven't worked so far. And we'll talk about that as well. The big thing is we're going to be also taking all your phone calls today. And that's really one of the prime reasons for Firearms Friday, is to discuss with you, the listener, all the things of a Second Amendment nature. We're going to talk about all that this morning as we get ready to kick things off. And so we're going to open up the phone lines to what we like to call gun Q&A. That is the questions and answers. And there is a rule on Firearms Friday, and when we open up the phone lines on Friday for gun Q&A, and that is, there is no such thing as a dumb gun question. Now, I saw the meme earlier this week, which I was gonna put up and pull up here, but I'll paraphrase it for you. I was gonna pull it up earlier, and I forgot to do it. So, but the meme that's going around that I think is probably one of the more perfect arguments that I've seen in the last few years is that all you people who have been asking about why we need AR-15s and 30-round magazines have had your answers being blasted across the airwaves on the news channels ever since this Ukrainian thing started. You want to know why? You want to know what the reason is? There you go right there. Enemies, foreign and domestic. That's the reason why, we should be allowed or have or are using AR-15s or any other so-called weapons of war. Right? I mean, you hear that. We don't need these weapons of war on our streets because, the war. And yet, if you look back in the histories of pretty much any the history or the genesis of almost any firearm that you can think of, most of them have their roots as weapons of war. That's right. That cowboy rifle, right? Winchester 76, weapon of war. You know, your bolt-action Remington 700 hunting rifle, weapon of war. They've all been used in conflicts. They've all been used around the world and around the globe, for generations. Whether it's my dad's old 30-40 Craig or, like I said, the Remington 700, which is the base unit for the M24 Marine Sniper System, all have been used as a weapon of war. The Colt 1911, probably one of the most predominant units of that we can talk about on a daily basis, developed specifically for the military, and probably one of the most prolific handguns in the history of the world. Weapon of war. Right? So all you people that have been hearing these arguments for years, why do you need these weapons of war? Why do you just turn on your TV and you'll see exactly why we need those weapons of war. Well, that would never happen here. I mean, that would never happen here. So I don't know why you're going on and on about it, because it would never happen. You never thought that this would happen. You never thought that you never thought that for no apparent provocation or reason, a major nation would do anything like that. I mean, you never thought that would happen, but yet here we are. Here we are facing it. And so the president gets hip deep in the middle of this during his State of the Union address with more reasons why we should be with more reasons why we should be doing this. It's right there. It's what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, I can tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do what we've been doing. We're going to try and continue this discussion. We're going to try and keep talking about this stuff, because the right to keep and bear arms is still a check on tyranny. And that has been proven in the last 7 days. Nora Green over at Reason Magazine put out a little, just a really short blurb that points to that and proves that more than not. Here's Nora Green from over at Reason Magazine. Here's what she had to say.
Ukrainians have taken to the streets with arms to defend their country and their freedom. They've prepared Molotov cocktails as makeshift bombs. The threat of tyranny isn't only present in the Third World. In the United States, critics of the Second Amendment have claimed that in modern warfare, small-time weapons are useless as a check on the power of standing armies.
The tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there have never been, if you want to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons.
But now, Biden is sending small arms to Ukraine's frontline defenders, and it turns out that weapons of all sorts can help fight off even a nuclear power. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tweeted he'll give weapons to anyone who wants to defend their country. Ukraine is the only European nation where firearms are not regulated by a statute. Even in peacetime, they were allowed to carry non-fully automatic rifles and shotguns as long as they were stored when not in use.
Ban assault weapons with high-capacity magazines hold up to 100 rounds. You think the deer are wearing Kevlar vests?
No, but unfortunately, hunting isn't the only purpose of a gun. The horrific war in Ukraine reminds us that the right to bear arms is still a check on tyranny.
I mean, isn't that the point? I mean, do you think deer are wearing Kevlar vests? But no, wait, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about deer. We're not talking about just for hunting. We're talking about, yes, protecting yourself, protecting your family. President Biden, during his speech here, of course, I don't know how many of you watched that in total. And like I said, I didn't even watch the whole thing. I read transcripts of it later. And, of course, I watched the parts where Nancy Pelosi acted like she was like she was, I don't know, on drugs or something. But overall, his rhetoric never changes. His his ideas and his suggestions do nothing to really curb crime. Remember, he was one of the prime movers and shakers behind the assault weapons ban, which between 1994 and 2004, where they had they stopped the sale of new assault weapons, had no effect on gun murders or gun violence. I mean, it's statistically proven. 10-year period where they tried to stop the sale or manufacture of new assault weapons, which was, again, this category of rifles that is basically, the whole thing is based on cosmetic features that make the gun look scary, did nothing. Because, again, rifles they make up the smallest, tiniest percentages of gun murders. I mean, in an average year where you may have something like 11 or 12,000, murders by firearm, you will have maybe 300 of those were done by a rifle. That's all rifles, hunting rifles, squirrel rifles, shotgun, and yes, maybe the dreaded quote-unquote assault rifle. So you've got a fraction of those being being used in these for this so-called assault rifle. He continues to move on. He talked about the PLCAA, which is the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act. He said we need to repeal the liability shield that makes gun manufacturers the only industry in America that can't be sued, which is not the case. You can sue gun manufacturers. The PLCAA simply makes it more difficult to sue manufacturers for harms caused not by an actual error or negligence on their part, but by criminal acts of people who purchase the firearms. I mean, this is what they're trying to do is they're trying to do the end run around the Second Amendment by driving legal manufacturers and sellers of firearms out of business. He talked about, the universal background checks. Well, how'd that work out in that Sacramento shooting? This Sacramento shooting, you may or may not have heard about the man who went in and shot all 3 of their children and their guardian and then killed himself in a church in Sacramento. This is a horrific story. But this guy already had a restraining order. He had already been prevented from purchasing or owning guns. And yet somehow, and by the way, had assaulted a police officer and been released from jail 2 days earlier. I mean, what? And yet somehow in California, where all these mandates and all these laws are in effect, he was still able to get his hands on a gun and murder his children, their caregiver, and then kill himself. This is the ridiculousness of what we're talking about. I mean, where you should have solved this problem? When he had attacked police officers, when he already had a restraining order and he attacked police officers just 2 days, it was 4 days before he did this crime, but he attacked police officers 4 days. He was already had a restraining order, already been under suspicion. They could have but they let him out on bail. And then there you go. I mean, if the guy was already a danger, they said he was on drugs and he was a danger to society. But no, we don't want to do that. We instead would like to blame the gun. That's what we would like to do. All right. I got one line on hold. They just jumped on hold here a minute ago, but I am up against the break. So I'm going to talk to the caller during the break and get their name, and we will start things off with gun Q&A here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Happy Firearms Friday, my friends.
What is that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Duke Show. Radio.
Okay, we're in the break right now, and I got one line on hold, so I want to go over to them first things first. I'm sorry we were getting close to the end of the segment there, so I didn't want to run over, but let's get their name and where they're calling from. Good morning.
Hi, Mike. Jeff from Homer.
Hey, Jeff from Homer. You hold the line, my friend. You will be first up in the queue when we get things ready to start and rock and roll. We're going to be doing that, and we'll be talking with you, so don't go anywhere. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Lots of good mornings this morning. I see my dad is in the chat. My wife is in the chat. Hello there. Let me... Hello. Sorry. Could you guys just look away for a minute? I just want to talk to my wife. All right. Let's see. Richard Childress Racing donates 1 million rounds of ammo, and Hendricks Racing will donate $2,000 for every lap any member of their team leads to Samaritan's Purse, said Rick. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I like to see it. One would hope that this Ukraine-Russian conflict would open up the free world's eyes to the true benefits of allowing citizens to be armed. Of course not. Are you kidding me, Michael? Of course not. China is saying that, what was the headline? China is blaming gun rights for human rights violations. I mean, there's an op-ed that seems to think that gun control would have prevented the Ukrainian crisis. Of course not. They're going to double down on stupid. This is not about facts and logic, my friend. This is not about facts and logic. This is about feelings. And they've already decided that, what they want to do, so there you go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Actually, more Winchester 73s were manufactured than the upscaled 76. You get my point, though, right? I mean, what I'm saying is that lever-action Winchester rifle, weapon of war. Right. Anybody on the west coast of Alaska have the military come through, ? Says Sean. Don't know. Anyone buying ammunition from these guys, 49th State Cartridge Company? Yes, they make some good stuff. David and the crew over there are good people at 49th Cartridge Company. You can't control people if they can fight back, and it's all about control, said Jack. Whew, now you're getting it. Now you're getting it for sure. Are you turning into your parents, says Rick? I don't know. Am I turning into my parents? I mean, I could hope so. They're pretty good people. If that's what I turned into, I guess I'd be pretty proud when it was all said and done. Let's see. What else am I missing here? Okay. All right. I blame the fork and the spoon for my weight gain. Me too, damn things. If I just didn't have a fork and a spoon, I would be skinny as a rail. If there were no more, look at this, man, I can't get a hold of it. If there were no more forks and spoons, I would be a thin man. I would be the thin man. I'd be William Powell, the thin man. Oh, man. I don't even know what to say. I just don't even know what to say. What else? 10 hours. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, the warthog became the snow hog. Man, I love the warthog. The warthog. I follow a group on, is it Instagram? I think it's Instagram or TikTok. I'm hardly ever on it, but when I do, I'll be watching it for half an hour. Anyway, there's the whole channel that's nothing but warthog stuff. The burp, Oh, so much fun to watch. So much fun to watch. All right, well, we're going to jump back into it here. We're 30 seconds out. Please like and share the show today, both on Facebook and YouTube, and make sure that you like and follow the show page, and make sure that you hit subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. Let's get back to it. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. All right, welcome back to the program. It's Firearms Friday. We're going to jump right to the phones, although I do have to make a comment on YouTube. Jason, we were talking about A-10 Warthogs, and Jason in the chat room just said A-10 pilots are drooling over that convoy in the Ukraine. I mean, that 40-mile-long convoy, you imagine just having a quartet of A-10s running down that convoy 40 miles worth with those Avenger cannons going. I mean, yeah, it's a ripe, juicy target. That's all I can say. A-10 pilots are like, yep, let me at him. Let me at him. Brap. Talk about Firearms Friday. There's a firearm for you. That cannon is something else. All right, let's get back. Sorry, I sidebarred there. Let's get over to the phones. Jeff's been on hold for a while, and we want to get to him. It's Jeff and Homer. Good morning, Jeff. What's on your mind, my friend?
Well, I'd like to talk about the Second Amendment and how it's been written lately. They've changed it, which is, if you read the whole thing and get the whole thing, it says that it cannot be infringed, but which means it cannot be changed. Then when you read down through, you'll find where it says it's an imprisonable 1 year in prison for changing the writing of the Second Amendment. And what happened to the weapon of the day? They've taken it out because you don't see it printed anywhere. They all want to say, you have the right to bear arms, blah, blah, blah. They're whittling away. And there's some people that are very guilty of that. And why aren't we putting them in jail is my thing. And I'll tell you right now, we do have the right to the weapon of the day, which means if you can afford, like Donald Trump, F-35 with nukes on it, you can have one landed on your lawn, as far as I'm concerned, because that is the weapon of the day, folks, along with a warthog. And, it's not just guns. I don't care what they say. It's arms.
Yeah.
All right? It says arms. We have the right to bear arms. Not just firearms, arms. So anything built by the military is classified as an arm, or anything that kills anything is classified as an arm. Well, it's home built.
Right. We were talking about this the other day, where the president was in a speech here 3 weeks ago. He was talking about it doesn't guarantee you the right to own a cannon, and in fact, it does. And in fact, American citizens have purchased cannons. American citizens have purchased, the history of Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders running up San Juan Hill. They didn't have enough arms. So what happened? Some of the New York, wealthier families in New York, they bought machine guns and they gave them to Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders to do that. It was private citizens who bought the machine guns and gave them to there has always been the right to keep and bear those arms in America.
Right, and I guess they've never seen the naval ships we had with cannons on them, and other ships that had cannons on them. Everybody had cannons when the cannons, that was one of their biggest uses, was out to sea. They pull up the side of each other and literally blow each other apart. The people got to know your history, and you got to understand, you have the right to bear arms for a lot of reasons, and the biggest reason is to protect yourself, okay? Your family. So this business of, you can't have a gun, or you can't have this, or this one looks like an assault weapon. Well, if you're going to have an arm, you might as well have a scary one, as far as I'm concerned, and it doesn't make any difference. You take the right people with any gun can kill a lot of people, okay? A 10-gauge shotgun or a 12-gauge pump, the right guy with a bullet belt on can reload that. I can reload a pump so fast it'll scare you. But I'm not military. I'm a hunter, okay? Because game's fast. I always said 2 types of deer, quick and the tasty. So you got to be fast sometimes. Birds, anything else you want to shoot. And everybody always said to me, "Well, you shoot a lot of game." No, I shoot what I want. all right, because I learned how to shoot and how to be quick. I know my guns. We've talked about this. I can load my gun without looking at it. I don't, I can sight my gun. We had a discussion the other day about sighting in for 300 yards. I should never do that. I do 100 yards. I know what to raise, and I kill my deer. I kill my moose. I kill whatever I want.
Right.
So, the proper guy, because I've had guns that were off that I had to use, got to camp, gun was off, didn't have time to line it up, shot it a couple times. We only got a hold to the left and up a little bit. Boom, killed my game. Everybody says, how do you do that? And I said, knowing your gun is knowing how to shoot, being comfortable shooting. You know what I mean? And ranging things with your own eyes, because it may come to a point, if you get driven back into the woods, you won't have any of that fancy equipment with you. You're going to have to learn how to shoot.
Right.
Right. So you're going to have to learn how to survive. You're going to have to learn a lot of things that you don't know, these people. And it's sad to see all of these people with all these answers, but if they really actually knew what it took to survive just out over the hills of Homer here, they would be scared to death that they didn't know all this, and they need to know this, right? And you need to know about your guns, and you need to know your gun laws and study them. And anybody like Biden, I mean, he's going to hammer on this for 4 years if he lasts that long. I don't know. I'm not looking for him to, but I'm not looking forward to it either. So just the whole deal with guns is we have the right to bear arms. That's the big one, and we have the right to have whatever we want for arms. All right. I mean, there's some great videos out of a guy shooting a 50 cal air gun.
Sure.
Which is not classified as a weapon, even
as a firearm, right?
An air gun, and he cuts a 2x4 off at 50 yards with about 10 shots.
Yeah.
So
no. Well, that's the problem. I mean, shall not be infringed has been. Well, it's been whittled down. I mean, they're saying, "Oh no, we can do it. We can do that. We can do this." And you're right. I mean, they have dug into that and whittled away at it to where now people just nod and go, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's infringement. That kind of infringement is okay." I mean, the way I read the law is the same way that you read the law. Any weapon, any arm should be available to the American people. Now, do I mean an F-15? Well, if you could afford one and the maintenance and the fuel, sure, go ahead. I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it should be. But, of course, the powers that be don't like to see the average citizen be able to, have the same stuff that the government has, because that interrupts and interferes with their power.
Right, and they give them to foreign governments. So, they being a little stingy there, And, my whole thinking on the whole deal is we need to be prepared to protect ourselves, but we also need to be able to feed ourselves in bad times.
Yeah.
It's like saying you can't have a boat because boats kill too many fish or people,
Right.
That's ridiculous.
No,
you can't have a boat because you just can't go out fishing. We don't want you going out fishing.
Guns are just part of that. Guns are just part of that equation. In the terms of, you're talking about raw survival, guns are just a part of that equation, and probably not even the largest part. Right. So yeah.
It's a way of life, Mike. And I'll leave you with this. I think what we need to do is dig up some cases where they've rewritten that Second Amendment, left out words purposely, get them into court, show them right in the Constitution where you need to go to jail for 1 year for that, put a couple of these highfalutin people in jail, and say, how do you like me now? Because that's what you get when you mess with the Second Amendment. And if that was enforced, we wouldn't have to worry about this all the time.
Well,
we'd have our guns and our ammo. We can't get ammo right now because they're picking on ammo. That's part of the arm.
Right. Well, that's true. I mean, and if you look at it from that perspective, we got here an inch at a time. We didn't just get here overnight. And so the problem is we can't just throw that law up and say, all right, arrest all these people. Because all the regular...
No, not all. Just one or two of the big mouths. Like they do, it gets tiresome after a while. It's the Constitution.
Yeah. No, and the problem is that the regular people out there, the people who are just, I guess, the sheeple who are out there in the middle, who don't think about this stuff, who don't consider it, they would look at you like you're crazy. Well, we can't have that because then and why do they do that? Because we didn't get here overnight. That's the thing. You know, it was an inch by inch. It was the frog in the pot, the boiling water with the frog in the pot. They just didn't boil it up and throw the frog in. They just turned up the heat an ounce at a time. So in some ways, we're going to have to work back the reverse on that. We're not going to be able to just shut it off. We're going to have to slowly whittle away at it to get back to the point that you're talking about. And I agree with that. I agree that that's where we should be when it's all said and done. Thank you, Jeff, for your call. 433-3150, 433-3150. If you would like to sound off, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on anything that's firearms related today, like what Jeff was saying and everything else. I just mentioned this California shooting where this guy who killed his kids and their caregiver. This is the same kind of stuff that we've been talking about for years. I mean, how effective is even the harshest gun control laws? I mean, this is, again, California, right? Where they've got, they've got all this common sense gun safety regulation. Gun control. That's what that is, by the way. Common sense gun safety regulation is code for gun control. But again, this guy had already repeatedly threatened to kill his estranged girlfriend. He scared his children, so much that they cried. One bit had bit her fingernails off almost completely. This was according to the restraining order that was supposed to keep him away from not only his children and his wife and his girlfriend, but also from guns and bullets. But he had both of them when he showed up on Monday for a supervised visit with his daughters, 13, 10, and 9 years old. Then he shot the chaperone that he and his ex-girlfriend agreed to, and then killed himself. How did he get a gun? I mean, again, this is California. They're already supposed to be background checks on any transfer and anything else, and there's a restriction and regulations on buying ammunition. How did this happen? Because of Sacramento, because of California's lax gun control laws? I mean, what? I mean, he said in his restraining order, the restraining order barred him from possessing firearms, and on a court document, he denied having any. His own ex-girlfriend said that she didn't believe that he had any firearms, and so didn't seek the red flag order, but that didn't stop anything. Yet in California, the law requires universal background checks, a 10-day waiting period, and now requires background checks on ammunitions. But this is, again, none of this stopped it. Of course, the Democrats in the state of California were immediately like, well, how did this happen? Is there a loophole that we need to correct? Another one said, the legal system failed. We need to do better. But wait a second. How criminals gonna be criminals, my friend? That's what's going on. Criminals are going to be criminals. Now, maybe they'll uncover how he got a hold of guns and ammunition despite the restraining order and everything else. I mean, he could have just lied to the court about not having a gun, but he could also have gotten one on the black market. But again, the worst part is that we see the government is really at fault for a lot of these things over the course of time, like we saw with the Parkland shooter, like we saw with a lot of these where they had multiple interactions with police officers. This guy was arrested on felony charges of assaulting a law enforcement officer a week before he killed his kids. He assaulted an officer. He displayed signs of being under the influence of alcohol or drugs, assaulted the officer, was finally arrested, taken to the hospital, later on went and assaulted the emergency workers at the hospital, and was later booked into county jail on suspicion of DUI and battery against peace officers and resisting, and all this. And what happened? Well, they let him out on bail just 2 days later. I mean, they had the opportunity. They knew that this guy was violent. They knew that he had this restraining order, right? I mean, it's all there in the system. And what did they do? Nothing. Let him back out on the streets, and then they'll blame the gun for his behavior. That's the worst part. The absolute, I mean, well, the worst part is the death of these children. But the second worst part, I guess I should say. All right, let's go over here. One more call before we go to break. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Michael, this is Bubba calling from North Pole.
Yes, sir.
And real quick comment. All the laws, like in California and so forth, that they passed, they're like a master lock. You know, they say locks are not designed to keep bad people out. They're designed to keep good people good.
Yeah.
That's all the locks are for.
That's true.
Bad person is going to get past the lock.
Yep, it's to keep honest people honest. That's exactly it. You're never going to stop them otherwise.
There you go.
All right. Well,
it's going to be with us for a while.
Thanks, Bubba. I appreciate you calling in and joining us. I got one more line on hold. We're going to talk to them during the break, but we've got to run real quick, so don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show continues. Your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio, TGIFF. Gun Q&A is open all day. So let's take some phone calls and see what you guys want to chat about. We'll return with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we're in the break right now. We got one line on hold. Let's go over to them and get their name and where they're calling from, and we'll get them set up for the return to radio. Good morning. Who's this?
Hi, Michael. It's Tim from Fairbanks.
Hey, Tim from Fairbanks.
Haven't talked to you. Haven't talked to you in a long time, but I'm gonna have to jump off. I'm about to get to where I'm going. So, but I was gonna mention to you about on KFAR. You know, they've been running a commercial about suicide and guns, and and locking your gun up and putting the ammunition away. And then that commercial's always rubbed me the wrong way. Of course, you know as well as anybody that the statistics they use for gun violence always include suicide stuff, and I don't want I don't want people to think I'm really familiar with suicides with guns. It's happened to my family, but it's just like the criminal's going to get the gun. If somebody wants to commit suicide with a gun, why is locking the ammunition up and your family member going and getting it? How is that going to be a problem?
Right.
It's just more the same. But I got to go. Hang in there.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Tim. Thank you for calling in and sharing that with us. Yeah, I've heard that same PSA before, and I understand, there's a little frustration. They're trying to equate suicides with guns in a way. Again, never, you could point to Japan, which is, of course, got almost no firearms in Japan, and they have one of the highest suicide rates in the modern world. And so it's really not about the gun. It's about the mental health. But they're going to make it about the gun and try and twist that into that. So, yeah, I got that. All right, Tim. Well, thank you for your call.
I'll talk to you later.
Appreciate you calling in. Okay. So there you go. What else you got? You guys are quiet this morning. Last comment is almost 8 minutes ago from Brian. You guys asleep over there? Should I do my hair again? Look at this. I don't know why it won't. Why won't it stay down? I've got spring. It must be spring because my hair's springing up. Must be spring. That's a dad joke, just in case you were wondering. It's a dad joke. Sorry. Oh, man. But it won't stay down because you are electric this AM. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's my electric personality. I don't know. Brian's like 2 cups of coffee and I still can't clear my head. I agree. I actually slept in a little bit this morning, got a little more sleep than usual, and I was almost dopier. I'm almost like I should have just gotten up and done my thing because this is crazy, crazy stuff. All right. I'm just thinking about some of the other things that I want to talk about here in the next hour and what we got going on. Plus, I really want to hear from Willie. Willie's going to talk with us today about the new movie, the Batman movie. I'm kind of excited to hear about that. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit of a comic book nerd. Not that I read a bunch of comics when I like the idea of comic books, and I like comic book stories. So I'm looking forward to hearing what Willie has to say about the Batman. The Batman. All right, what else we got here? We talked about that. Oof, we're burning through these stories pretty quick this morning. Oh, we haven't talked about this yet. Okay. All right. All right. So we'll see what else you guys have to say, what else is coming up here. We're about a minute away from rejoining the radio. And what are you guys doing this weekend? What's the plan? Was it just me? Did anybody else watch the whole Nancy Pelosi sideshow? I mean, I know I mentioned this yesterday, but did you find it as odd as I did? It was unsettling to watch. It was really unsettling to watch her actions and the way she was. I just it was weird. It was really, really weird. We telling dad jokes now? When did we stop telling dad jokes? Come on. I tell some good dad jokes. What was the one that I saw the other day that I was going to tell my kids to make them groan? I saw it on Facebook, and I was like, oh, it was good stuff. It was so funny. Yeah, no, I watched Nancy Pelosi the other day, and it was like, I don't know what's going on, but that woman needs some help. Woof. Do not let her out in public. All right, let's go jump into this. Here we go, the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Welcome back to the program. The Michael Duke Show. It's Friday, TGIFF. Thank goodness it's Firearms Friday, right? The one day a week we get to let our hair down, or let it up, as the case may be, and talk about one of our favorite topics here on the show. We also use Firearms Friday to help demystify and educate about the firearm, to talk about, all the important aspects of it and everything else. So we welcome you back to the program for that as well. Gun Q&A is open. Gun Q&A all day. And we'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Oof, man, that was almost a poem, wasn't it? The number to call is 907-433-3150. That's 907-433-3150. We'd love to hear what you guys want to talk about here and what is on your mind as well. We would love to love to be part of it. Love to be part of it. I'd also like, of course, to remind folks that there's a lot of things happening this weekend, not necessarily firearms related, but there's a lot of things happening this weekend. House District GOP district conventions 31 and 35. That's in Fairbanks. That's going on at Journey Christian Church in Fairbanks this weekend. There's also, of course, the mushing competition in North Pole behind the Star of the North. There's also, of course, Fur Rondy. The Hide and Horn auction is going on this weekend. You've got the start of the Iditarod. You've got Charlie Pierce's announcement tomorrow night at Paradisio's Pizza at 5 p.m. He's going to be announcing who his running mate is. And then Ben Carpenter is going to be speaking tomorrow at 1 p.m. in Nikiski. So it's going to be there's a lot of things going on this weekend. A lot of stuff going on. I have an appointment with my family. We're going to be delving down. We're in the middle right now of we're on a ghost ship, and we're in the middle of a pocket dimension inside of a ghost ship, fighting giant shadow rats. That's what we're doing right now. That's right. So this weekend is going to be busy for me as well. We're going to be fighting some giant shadow rats. That's the weekend. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. So whatever you're planning on doing this weekend, embrace it with your whole heart and enjoy it, no matter what it is. I do want to mention one of the sponsors of the program, of course, is the Bivy Stick. Bivy has been kind enough to support the show. And I got to say, even if they weren't, I'm excited about this product. They have got the Bivy Stick, which is only $199 for this little tiny device that's about half the size of my cell phone. You can leave it in your pocket, turned off if you want to, and when you really need it, it's there. It's got 5 days of continuous battery usage. When it's fully charged, you can have 5 days of continuous usage. When you turn it on, it turns your cell phone, you tether it with Bluetooth, and you download the app before you head out on the trail or wherever you're going, and it turns your cell phone into a satellite communications device. You can send text messages, you can send emails. It's got the whole mapping feature in it, so you can drop a pin, like where you're at, and send your location to somebody. It's got a couple little hot buttons on it. One of them is basically a check-in button that says, hey, I'm okay, and here's where I am. And another one that's a little red button that says, ow, I'm hurt, come get me, and here's where I am. You can also set it to drop pins at intervals, depending on how far apart you want them to be. And it is basically just a peace of mind because you'll always be in contact. I keep going back to the 2018 earthquake. Luckily, I was at home. I had everybody with me. But what if I had been somewhere else? What if I wanted to reach out? My cell phone was not working very well that morning because everybody was trying to call into somebody else, and the towers, a couple of them were probably down, and so we had a problem with congestion and everything else. Well, if I had a Bivy Stick, I would have been no problem. I would have just checked in. I'm okay. Here's where I'm at. Boom, drop a pin. If you're an aviator or a mariner or just a regular person who likes to know what's going on with the weather in the case of winter storms and everything else, you can get weather forecasts on it. And it's got all kinds of new features that are coming out all the time, ones that I can't even talk about. I'm waiting for them to tell me I can talk about it because they're cool features. That's what Bivy does. They innovate. No activation fees. Plans as low as $14 a month. $199 retail value. Rollover available for your unused credits and everything else that you're sending. Why wouldn't you invest in a Bivy Stick? I mean, whether you're a hunter or fisherman, a snow machiner, doctor, truck driver, Avon lady, soccer mom, whoever, brain surgeon, rocket scientist, if you are any of those things, you could benefit from having a Bivy Stick. Find out more at satellitewest.com or go to your local dealer in Dutch Harbor, Lundy Marine Electronics, in Fairbanks, Arctic Fire and Safety, in Homer, South Central Radar, in Kodiak, Radar Alaska, in Seward, Communications North, and in Wasilla, Anchorage, or Soldotna. You can visit your local Safe and Sound, and you can get all the information on the Bivy Stick. It's a cool name. It's a cool product. Go out and get one right now. And tell them I sent you. Would you do that? At least go ask about it. At least go hold one in your hand. If you go ask about it, then they'll be like, man, that Michael Dukes, he can really make people come out and do it. Do what I say. That's what I'm saying. Oh, man. Okay. What do I have time for here? I'm looking at the clock. What do I got time for? We could talk. Yes, somebody just said that there are American troops that are not American troops, but American citizens who some veterans from America are taking the fight to Ukraine, heading over there. I see the British Foreign Secretary just said and gave the go-ahead that if there were people in Britain who wanted to go fight for Ukraine, they had no objections to that. Well, I mean, thank goodness the government didn't have any objections to me exercising my conscience and doing what I wanted to do. I mean, thank goodness for that, right? But yeah, I think Ukraine is going to get some interesting stuff. They're actually creating a Ukrainian, what are they calling it? Foreign Legion, where people from foreign countries who want to come help fight for Ukraine can all work together. I mean, that's an interesting thing going on. People exercising that right. That's what it is. People exercising the right to keep and bear arms, and they're going to go bear arms for against what they see as tyranny. All right, let's go over here and see what you have to say one more time. I got some other stories to pick up after the news. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Michael. How you doing? It's Fred in Rhode Island. How you been?
Hey, Fred. How are you? What's going on, my friend?
Well, I want to bring up an interesting point. It just dawned on me listening to your previous callers. This whole thing with Putin and what he's doing in Ukraine, what's the real difference between what Putin's doing in Ukraine and what the liberal progressive Democrats are trying to do in this country?
Well, I mean, I would say the liberals in this country are not, they're not carpet bombing and missile striking cities and memorials and things like that.
Well, no, they're not doing that, but, they are doing an acid drip as to the constitutional rights, the Constitution itself, and the Bill of Rights. Would you agree?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's basically chipping away at our rights. They've been doing that for years, absolutely. But it's not openly aggressing. I guess that would be the difference. I mean, we can make a lot of arguments, but they're not Putin.
It's not openly aggressive, but how do they turn around and they turn like the criminal justice system into a joke? Which they've been doing for a while, and they're becoming even more emboldened at it by like you mentioned, the Sacramento situation with the person killing the family and himself, especially after he had a previous run-ins, and the guy's obviously a menace to society and a danger to all, including himself, obviously. So they're using this as a weapon against the American people.
Right.
The way I see it, they sit there and they.
Yeah, you could wait. Hold the line, Fred. I'm up against the break. You could be right. I'd like to talk about this more. We'll be back. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. I mean, let me say this, Fred. I mean, I know what you're trying to say, but I think that's a. Yes, I agree with you. It's drip, drip, drip. They're constantly eating away at our rights. They're constantly trying to change things. I agree. I agree with that. But I don't think you can. I think what's going on with Putin. Oh, Fred left. I think what's going on with Putin is a lot different than what than what's going on in America. I mean, I just think that you can't equate the two things. I mean, sending 100,000 troops and shelling every major city in a country with live munitions, rockets, missiles, and everything else just doesn't equate to what's going on in our country today. I mean, respectfully, I just don't think that works. Okay. All right. So a couple of you told me what you were doing this weekend, a couple of the things, and nobody's doing this, nobody is doing exciting things like I am. I mean, who else here is fighting giant shadow rats? Anybody? What else? Elder once told me that 12 gauge with buckshot is better at night because you can't see your sights for bears or predators that prowl at night. Well, I think it depends on what's, I think it depends on what you're hunting. That's what I think. I think it depends on what you're hunting and what you're fighting against. 4-aught buck. is the best. It's what I use as a home defensive load for my shotgun is 4-aught buck because it doesn't go through the walls. And the last thing I want to do is be shooting at an intruder and hit somebody else in the other room. Terry says we're fighting giant shadow rats every day in our government. Touché. The good news is that in this setting, I actually get to kill the giant shadow rats. So there you go. You going hunting this weekend? Yes. We're hunting giant shadow rats. It's not a joke, man. It's, just a little firebolt, ice lance, toll the dead. We're going to do that. Flashlights and a slug for bear, says Sean. I mean, that's really the best way to kill a bear is with slugs, and you got to be able to see it. That's why lights are important. Flashlights especially in this day and age. I mean, how many of you carry a flashlight on your person? Anybody? Anybody carry a flashlight on your person in Alaska? Anybody? I do. This is in my pocket every day. This one, and then I've got one on my pistol that I carry, and then I've got one in my little bag in my car. Right? Yeah, on my cell phone, says Sean. Brian says, in my wife's purse. I mean, any Alaskan who doesn't carry a flashlight, I don't understand that. I mean, we live in a place that's dark 9 months out of the year, and people don't carry a flashlight? What is wrong with you? I've had this one. This is like a Streamlight. I can't remember what the model is. You can't even read it. I mean, all the freaking paint is wore off of it. I mean, but this little flashlight runs on a single AAA battery, and I have had this thing for years. I've got 2 of them. I've got another one. When this one breaks, I'll start carrying the other one. But this is just a little Streamlight. I think it cost me $25 or something, and it's lasted forever. I mean, and oh yeah, the cell phone has got the flashlight and everything. But let me find the app quickly. I got to find the app for my flashlight. I got to, of course, if you know the trick, if you know the secret, you're like, okay, Google. No, come here. Okay, Google. See, now it doesn't even want to do it. I was just gonna show you the coolest thing. Let's try it again. Okay, Google. Anyway, why don't you carry a flashlight? Why don't you carry? I mean, right? I'm going to find my flashlight. Wait a second. It's here. It's in this app. I've got it. It's finally. Where is it? Oh, it's right there. Oh, no. I pushed the button. I pushed the button twice. Oh, okay. There, now it works. Right? Or I just reach in my pocket, pull it out, and push the button and can turn it on and off whenever I want to do it. I mean, what? Right? My wife makes fun of me for falling asleep with my headlamp on. I've got a headlamp in my little go bag too. Headlamps are very, very underrated, I think. But yes, I carry a flashlight. It's not just about carrying a gun. It's carrying all the other things. The running joke around the office when I was in Fairbanks was that if you needed it, you just go ask me, and I probably had it. Whether it was a hammer in my car or, my multi-tool or a knife or whatever it was, I probably had it. And you're right. It's why I wear Duluth Trading Company pants, because I can carry 15 pounds of gear in my pants. That's what's going on. A knife, a Gerber multi-tool, a flashlight, a gun, paracord. Anybody else have paracord in their pocket? No? You got all that. All those things, and you can be pretty much safe no matter what you got going on. You can fix the world with pretty much those things that I just mentioned. Little chunk of paracord, multi-tool, knife, and I do have some duct tape actually wrapped up around a pin in my pocket. Just because. I mean, yeah, shoestrings. You want to use your thing is you use the shoestrings, then you can't use your shoes. That's the problem, right? Use your shoestrings as paracord, then you can't use your shoes. All right, here we go. Jumping back into it.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show every Friday. We take the show and we turn it into Gun Central, which I just said guns and firearms and everything else. So I'm sure YouTube and Facebook are all looking at me right now. They're watching. They're watching. They're going to shut us off at any minute. That's okay. That's why we have the radio, my friends. Anyway, today is the day that we get to talk about all those things, and we'd love to have you join the conversation at our phone number, which is 433-3150, 433-3150. The Pivotel call-in line is the number to call if you would like to sound off. And I actually was going to talk about something else, but over the break we got chatting, and I don't even now remember. I know what we were talking about. We were talking about the ultimate round for shot. Somebody mentioned about shotgun rounds, that buckshot is better at night because you can't see the sights, and a bear and a predator prowl at night and everything else. So there's a couple things I want to unpack on that, and that's where we first got started on this. So let me first address this. 12-gauge buckshot may be better in the woods, and it may be a good man stopper. But if you're using a shotgun inside your house for home defense, there's a couple things. So first off, if you can't see your sights, you need better sights, okay, in the dark. And I've got a low light fiber optic sight on my shotgun. My home defense shotgun has got it's a stick about 1.5 inches long of plastic, right? And it's like a fluorescent green plastic, and it gathers the light, so it sits on the end. And even if there's a little ambient light, you can still see this little green glow at the end of the sight, even in near darkness. You can't be total darkness, but if it is total darkness, that's why I have a flashlight on the side of my shotgun, right? Because if I'm going to be hunting predators at night in my home, right? I mean, you should have a flashlight. Anyway, the 12-gauge double-aught buckshot is not a good round for the household because it can penetrate walls. My recommendation, which it was recommended to me many years ago, and I went and did some research on it, and I've decided, yes, that 4-aught copper-clad buck is the home defense round for me, because it won't pass through the sheetrock. So if an intruder does come into you don't want to be shooting your family through the walls accidentally while you're taking an intruder down. So 4-aught copper-clad buck is my go-to round for home defense. Okay, enough said about that. But it brought us to this idea of the flashlight. Flashlight on your gun. Now, we live in Alaska, right? Where it's dark 9 months out of the year. I mean, for the most part. I mean, it's dark. And I never understood my concealed carry handgun has a light on it. I had all my holsters made for my everyday, concealed carry so that I can carry my gun with my light on it. Why? Because it's dark most of the time when I'm outside traveling, driving back and forth, whatever. Having that there is important. Having a light. So, but my question became, how many of you are just carrying a light with you all day, every day? I do. I carry a flashlight in my pocket every day. I have a little tiny AAA stream light that I've had it. I had it. We were just laughing about it because I was holding it up for the camera for the video, and the paint is almost all. It was a little black light. Now it looks like it's mostly gray because I've worn all the paint off of it. But I have that in my pocket. I have one on my firearm. I have one more in my go bag along with a headlamp. I have a regular handheld flashlight and a headlamp. Why? Because there's times when you need to do stuff and still see, and the headlamp is a lifesaver. So it got me thinking about, well, what else do you carry on your person? Because this is Firearms Friday, but really it's about being prepared. Now, people were arguing in the chat room, oh, I've got a flashlight. It's on my cell phone. Okay, great. Well, if you want to fiddle fart around with your cell phone to try and find the light, you can. And apparently I was demonstrating and saying, well, I got to try and find the thing. And they're like, oh, no, the light button on an iPhone is right there on the screen. Okay, great. Maybe you can do it. I know that no matter what's going on, I can reach into my pocket, pull this little flashlight out, and push the button, right? I don't have to try and look at the screen or do anything else. I can do it completely in the dark without having to look. If I was blindfolded, I could get my flashlight. Not that it would help me if I was blindfolded. But it got me thinking about what else do we carry and what should we be carrying on a daily basis? The running joke around the office back when I lived in Fairbanks was, if you needed something, go ask Mike. He probably has it. Whether it was a hammer or something in my car or a knife or a pair of tweezers or whatever else, go ask him. He probably has it. It was a running joke, but you know what? People still came to me. So what do you carry in your EDC, everyday carry? Sure, I've got my pistol. Sure, I've got my extra magazines. Sure, I've got my little miniature flashlight, plus a flashlight on my firearm. Sure, I've got a multi-tool. I prefer the Gerber multi-tool over the other ones. It's personal preference. As long as you got a tool that can do whatever, I've got a multi-tool. What else do you carry? A good pocket knife? Who doesn't carry a good pocket knife these days? My wife has a pocket knife in her purse. I know because I bought it for her. And she carries it every day, except for when we fly on the airlines. After that one time that we had to mail the damn thing back from the checkpoint. Right? But who doesn't carry that kind of... What else do you carry? I carry a hunk of paracord with me. 550 cord. A little chunk. It's in my coat pocket. What's it for? I don't know. Whatever I need it. Have I ever needed it? Yes. Often? No. But I carry it. I have a pen. I have a Sharpie. That's just a black Sharpie with some duct tape wrapped around it. About 3 feet of duct tape. Why? I don't know. I may need some duct tape. Have I used it? Yes. For marking and for using it. I mean, how... so what do you carry? Sean in the chat room recommended carrying some mechanics wire, a little roll of mechanics wire. I never thought of it, but might not be a bad idea. Maybe you need something strong. Maybe the 550 won't cut it. Maybe you need mechanics wire. What do you use in your everyday carry? What do you put in your everyday carry pile? I had to make the joke. This is why I wear pants, cargo pants from Duluth Trading Company, because I can put 15 pounds of stuff in these pants and I could still walk around all day. I mean, it's a little bit of a joke. It's not 15 pounds. It's probably about 8 pounds with my pistol and everything. But I got a lot of other stuff in my pockets that I just always have, just in case. Why? Just in case. I have used almost everything I just described at one point or another in the last 5 years. The duct tape, yes. The marker, yes. The paracord, yes. My flashlight, almost daily. What else do you have in your everyday carry that maybe nobody else is thinking about? Let's go over here. We'll go to some phone calls. Let's see what you have to say. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, morning, Mr. Duke. This is Catfish from Kenai. How are you doing this morning?
Doing good, sir. How are you? What's on your mind?
Hey, I know you're talking. I don't mean to get off your theme. What you're talking about, EDC. Yeah, I carry a Nebo flashlight. That thing is super bright. I was going to say a good belt. I like that groove belt. I don't know if you've ever tried one of those out, but that seems to hold up pretty well with a holster and everything.
Nice.
I did want to call and let everybody know that today, I believe they're meeting today. Representative Tara Garn. I probably butchered her name. I apologize. She's pushing through a bill. And I forget the number, I apologize, that is supposed to help out with outdoor equity for minorities. And so, just something that quite frankly is a massive joke. If you look at all the supporting documentation, it all alludes to Black Lives Matter and other states, a lot of these leftist states, what they're doing and promoting throughout their areas. So if you get an opportunity, or if you're somebody in her district, again, creating something out of nothing, but essentially it's looking to earmark funds for minorities to go out and enjoy outdoors,
Well,
be it that,
it's
buying
not
them a kayak, a bike.
Right. It's not just that. It creates a whole office of outdoor equity. It creates a whole new bureaucracy on top of everything else. You're 100% right. We talked about this earlier in the week. It is a hot mess. It's definitely something we don't need to be worrying about right now with all the other stuff we got going on. But yeah, creating a whole new, out of whole cloth, a whole new office for outdoor equity, whatever that means. And I guess it means whatever they say it means at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. For them to, again, creating something out of nothing, paying a full PFD this year would easily resolve that issue, and following the statute that's worked for 40 plus years.
Right.
Which they've just chosen not to do so.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
Thanks for the time.
Thanks for calling in. I appreciate you being part of it today. 433-3150. Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael. This is Larry up in North Pole.
Well, hello, Larry. How are you, my friend?
Oh, getting better.
Getting better. You've been around a day or two. I'm sure you could tell us what you carry every day that makes a difference.
Oh, I better not. The boss might be listening.
Yeah, we don't want him to know for sure.
Anyway, but I carry the flashlight and Leatherman tool and Spyderco and and even a Victorinox Swiss Army knife,
Sure.
But and a fingernail clipper.
Oh, and a fingernail clipper,
among other things.
There you go. That's one thing that's one thing I don't carry, but I can imagine that there's probably, it would be handy, I'm sure, for a variety of things.
Yep. Yeah. You get a loose thread on your clothes, you just snip it off, et cetera. But anyway, main reason I called, this is March, and it's coming up the first weekend, and that's when they have the Nana Ice Classics,
right?
Tripod raising day,
right.
And for about 20-something years, I've been putting on a turkey shoot down there. So, I thought I'd throw my 2 cents worth in on that, and maybe get some more precipitation down there.
Sure.
It starts at noon. That's tomorrow. And we'll run till probably 4 o'clock or so. If I got plenty of people still there, then after 4 o'clock we'll keep shooting until we run out of turkeys.
Right.
And it's going to happen at the rifle range, which is at mile marker 303 on the Parks Highway, which is just south of Nenana, about a mile and a half or so.
Right.
And the shooting will be with 22 caliber rifle, small bore pistol, and centerfire pistol at 50 feet. Those three are shot at 50 feet.
Okay.
and it's 5 shots for $2, and the target has scoring rings on it, and so whoever has the highest score wins the turkey. Yeah, and then we have what we call a moose hunting type rifle, and that's $5 for 3 shots. And I put a stationary clay pigeon down, and if you break the clay pigeon, you get a turkey.
Wow.
And that's at 100 yards. And if anybody has any other questions, they can for information they can call 907-832-5446. Yeah, that's the office, the Nenana Ice Classic office.
Okay.
And also I thought I'd mention on the 19th and 20th up here in Fairbanks in the Gottschalk's building at Shoppers Forum. They're going to have their spring fling gun show.
Okay.
And I know you've got one coming up next month. I believe.
Yep.
Isn't it?
Yep. We're going to have one next month on the 8th
what,
and
9th and
10th of April.
Yeah, yours is 9th and 10th.
Yep.
Yeah. And then TVSA is having theirs on the 23rd and 24th after yours. Yeah, plenty of good gun shows to go to up
Yeah,
there.
plenty of stuff. All right, turkey shoot this weekend. 832-5446 is the number to call to get more info. Larry's going to be putting it on, get you some turkeys. Make sure you bring some cages. Or wait, are these frozen turkeys?
They're frozen turkeys. I stopped down at I keep on saying Caldwell's. Yeah, the store.
The store.
Nenana.
Cog Hills.
And,
Cog Hills store in
pick them
Nenana.
up.
Yeah.
Cog Hills. Yeah. Cog
all right.
Hills. Yeah. I stop at Cog Hills and I get a bunch of turkeys, and then as a person wins a turkey, then I hand them to them right there.
Right. All right, Larry. Well, thanks for putting this on. We appreciate you giving the heads up. I appreciate that. Thank you for being part of it today.
All right. Take care, Michael.
All right. Thanks for your call. Folks, we're up against the break. I got a couple more lines on hold. We were talking about everyday carry. What do you carry in your pocket that other people may not, I mean, maybe they don't think about? I mean, everybody's got the knife, right? The multi-tool, the flashlight, maybe some paracord. What do you carry in your pocket? We'll have more on this in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Streaming live every weekday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we're in the break right now. One line dropped off, one line stayed on, so let's see who they are. We'll get their name for when we return to the radio here in just a minute. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mr. Dukes. This is Mike calling from Fairbanks.
All right, Mike in Fairbanks, hold the line, my friend. I will be right back to you. You will be first up in the queue for that. Connie says she carries baling wire, pliers, and WD-40. Where do you put the WD-40? I mean, I guess it's maybe you put it in your purse. Although I don't know why I would need WD-40. I mean, I can't think of a need where I absolutely needed WD-40. The baling wire, I could see that. A little thing of baling wire, a little loop or two of baling wire. I could see that in a little coil where it sits flat, you know. I'm down with that. I could see a use for that. There've been a couple times when I could do that. When the muffler hanger breaks, only mechanics wire handles the heat better than paracord and duct tape. That's true. Again, a little bit of mechanics wire goes a long way on that. Sean says, wallet, keys, Camulus military pocket knife. I don't know what kind of, I'm not familiar. Let me Google that real quick for you. Camulus military pocket knife. Oh, okay, yeah. It's like a three-bladed, It's like a 3-bladed pocket knife with, can opener on it? Camulus, U.S. Army military issue vintage pocket knife. Camulus. Okay. Yeah, so it's got a punch, it's got a screwdriver, it's got a bottle opener, or it's a can opener, I guess. It's not a bottle opener, it's a can opener on the other end. That's pretty neat. That is pretty darn sweet. That's a handy little thing. Boy, they're not cheap, are they? They got one on here, 1957 vintage Camulus pocket knife, U.S. Army 1957 issue, $230. Dang. Denny says, Todd says he carries a P38, which for those of you who don't know what a P38 is, it's a can opener. It's a little folding can opener, which are cool. Don't get me wrong, I've got one, but I prefer the P51, which is the larger version, which they use on number 10 cans. Supposedly, this is the story. Supposedly, the P38 designation on they're the little tiny folding, can openers that are a little flat piece of metal with where the tooth comes out on the edge and you crank it around. Supposedly, the 38 comes from the number of times you have to take a bite of a can top on a regular size can. It is 38 times to get the can opening. But there you go. Yeah, I carry I have a P51, which is the larger version that they initially made for the big number 10 coffee can size cans. You know what I'm talking about? The ones that are 8 inches across on the top. P51. I used to sell the hell out of those, by the way, at gun shows and stuff. Back when I used to have my own tables at gun shows and stuff, I sold the hell out of those P51s. Has anybody heard about the ATF mailing? They're asking if you filed an F1 application that you have to disclose if you have any parts making you a felon, and that of this time they will no longer grant permits for personal manufacture of silencers. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that yet. They go for about, I haven't heard of that, Jeannie. I'd like to know more. Sean says they go for about $28. He's talking about the Camillus knives. I'm looking at a bunch of different, I'm on eBay, and they're everywhere from one guy's got one for $5.50 up to $46 to $22 to $36. They're all over the place, depending on what year, I guess, depending on how old they are. But anyway, kind of a cool little thing. 5-inch vintage pocket knife. Yeah, I'm down with that. Okay. AK Uper says that the P38, the 38 came from the fact that it took 38 hours from idea to production. That could be true too. I don't know. All right, let's go. Here we go. All right, we're continuing our discussions. I was going to talk about some other things, but we got talking about everyday carry. And, of course, everyday carry refers to your, refers to your pistol, of course, your everyday carry pistol, and that's kind of a given, right? And so the question is, what else do you carry besides your your pistol? And we talked about flashlights, obviously, pocket knives, gear, Leatherman tools, things like that. So I was wondering, what else do you carry? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Somebody just pointed me to a new product called Fast Strike. I've never even seen this Fast Strike. Apparently, it's like a little whip. Huh. I'll have to take a look at this. I've never even seen this before. Let's go to the phones, though. Mike is in Fairbanks. He wanted to sound off this morning. We'd love to hear what he has to say. Good morning, Mike. What's on your mind?
Good morning again there, Mr. Dukes. Yeah, I carry a small Bible. I carry a roll. You could buy them Gorilla Tape roll. They're 1 inch by 30 feet. A couple bucks for heavy-duty duct tape. And I just got, plus I carry my Colt Commander, my 1951. And I was fortunate enough to save enough money to buy an Iridium satellite phone, the new one that's the Extreme. But I just got this new device here, Mike. It's pretty neat. It's called a Solar Bank Backup. It's about twice the size of a cell phone. It weighs a couple pounds, but you hang it off the back of your backpack. My NRA backpack here is stuffed. Hang it off the back of that, and it'll charge your phones. It'll charge, pretty much everything. It's got 2 USB ports. It's got a micro port, USB, it's Type-C port. Sends out an SOS signal, and it's wireless charging, waterproof, shockproof. It's got an LED light on it, and it's really heavy duty, and it comes from www.backupsolarbank.com, and it was only $89. And if you buy a couple or 3 of them, you get it's even more inexpensive, but pretty neat little unit. And that's it.
Yeah, no, I have seen some of these units for battery backup, and I mean, you're getting more into the kind of the bag, the go bag kind of stuff. I was talking about more what you carry kind of on your person, but yeah, that sounds like kind of a slick deal because, of course, always the problem is, even if we're talking about things like the bivy stick or your cell phone or anything else, you got to have a way to charge that stuff. And if you don't have a way to charge it, then you're in trouble. And being that this is solar, that seems like that might be a might be a way to do it. I'll have to check that out to see how rugged it is. Yeah, I could see it. It looks just like a cell phone. Only a little bit bigger, and got a lot of solar panels on it. That's cool. I like that. Thanks for giving me the heads up on that.
Yeah, you got it, Mike. I hope my friend, one of my best friends, Brady, he calls in. He's an air gun master down in Vegas.
Yeah.
I hope he calls in because he carries some weird stuff too.
Yeah, no, I always like to hear what people are carrying in there. Usually this is more like what are you carrying in your pockets that's weird, but that's a good find. Thank you.
Oh, I gotcha.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. Let's move ahead here. What are you carrying in your pockets everyday carry that people might not think about? Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello. Hi. I'm calling from Homer. My name's Tim.
Hey, Tim.
And yeah, I'm kind of talking about what I kind of carry in my vehicle. I got an older vehicle. I always carry, tie wire, and I know that's not, I know you're talking about carrying stuff on you, but tie wire, pliers, and tools. Since I have an older vehicle, just in case, and
right.
I'll carry coolant and oil, and I pretty much want that with me all the time. Seems like every time I don't have my tools with me, something goes wrong.
Right. And when
can't fix it. But
when you say
anyway, just wanted to put that out there.
When you say tie wire, are you talking about like mechanics wire? Is that what you're talking about?
No, like tie wire for like tying up like rebar. You know, the metal wire that comes in a roll.
Yeah, we call it mechanic. I mean, I've called it mechanics wire. Is what is the same kind of thing. So it's a real thin, hard black wire that you use your pliers to clip off. Yeah, so that's
I keep that with me at all times, just so, if your exhaust falls off or something like that, But I did want to say too, I enjoy your show, and I'm listening to you every morning, and you and Chris Story are pretty funny to listen to. So I just wanted to say that too, and appreciate the program.
Well, thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. And you're right. I mean, if you've got an older vehicle, I tell you, I carry tools, coolant, oil, tie-down straps, funnels. I got a big milk crate in the back of my car that's got all that stuff in it, plus my regular emergency gear. So I'm with you on that. Thanks for sharing with us, Tim. I appreciate it. Let's go over here, see what you have to say. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mike. This is Mark from Fairbanks. How are you this morning?
Good, Mark. What's on your mind?
Oh, right. Well, you were talking about the whip there, and modern facilities in these days. The nature of warfare, of course, that's changing all the time, and sportsmanship shooting. And my question is, with the modern warfare tactics and this softening up biowarfare attack, aren't they out maneuvering, outflanking gun owners with this direct arm jab by these medical assassins?
I don't know how the jab would. I don't know how the vaccine would be outflanking gun owners, especially those that decided not to take it. I don't know how that would. I don't know how that would work.
There you go.
Well, I don't know what. Okay, there you go, and there you go. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. All right. So mechanics wire seems like something that a lot of people are carrying either in their vehicle or in their on their person. And it might be something that I have to add to my everyday carry thing. Because, I mean, you could have 6 feet of mechanic wire and have it as a pretty small little coil flattened out in your pocket. Like I said, I wear cargo pants, like Duluth Trading Company cargo pants, which have got like 8 million pockets in them. Not a bad idea. A little Sharpie with you got duct tape wrapped around it, so you've always got duct tape. I mean, you just never know. I mean, maybe people will call you paranoid. I don't know. I just like being ready for everything. That's what I like. I like being ready for everything. All right, we're up against the break. Willie Waffle's coming up. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Streaming live every weekday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Brian in the chat room, if you own a Dodge, you need to carry a traveling mechanic. That's just mean. I mean, come on, man. I mean, come on. What I carry every day: pocket knife, Leatherman, the super tool, 6-inch crescent wrench, 10-in-1 screwdriver, small roll of electrical tape, 12-inch measuring tape, keys, OD tape measure, and wallet. Well, I don't know what you do for a living, but the 6-inch crescent wrench, that's an interesting carry. I can't think of many applications when my multi-tool hasn't been able to do the job, my Gerber multi-tool. 10-in-1 screwdriver. Huh. Small roll of electrical tape. I prefer duct tape over electrical tape just because it has more applications and it sticks to more stuff. But again, this is not a criticism. I'm just curious. A 12-inch tape measure, or 12-foot tape measure, rather. Yeah, I suppose that could come in handy depending on what you're doing. But the crescent wrench kind of throws me. The crescent wrench and the other one. Okay, let's go over to the phones here, see what folks have to say. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
I'm in Fairbanks.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, when I was younger, we took the hunter safety class, and I've heard a couple good things so far. I wouldn't necessarily need to carry tools in my rig all day and stuff. To me, having that stuff in the car is necessary if you're a carpenter or, working all day. But if you're just driving to and from the office, I don't know if you need all that. But chiming in, when I was a kid, somebody suggested birthday candles that don't blow out if you're going out in the woods and out doing stuff. I just thought I'd throw that one out there.
Right. No, that's not a bad idea. You're talking about the goofy candles that you fool people with that keep relighting. That's actually not a bad idea.
Carry with this time of year on your snow machines and stuff, and you're debating bringing a Bic lighter and a knot. Sometimes I always think back to that man who suggested birthday candles that don't blow out. It always stood out to me that he was pretty sharp.
Yeah, that's a pretty sick idea. I hadn't even considered that. I don't carry a Bic in my emergency bag, but I do carry a little micro torch.
Expect somebody to carry them, some candles around all day. But if you got them in your boat or your snow machine, it's just something about.
Well, and I think every Alaskan should have some kind of emergency bag in their car just in case. I mean, even if we're driving back and forth to the office, I guess it depends on if it's it depends on if it's a 1 mile drive or a 50-mile drive. Having that emergency gear in the back of your car can save your life. So it's not a bad thing as long as it's not taking up enough room that it fills the whole back of your car.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if you got youngsters, you should have a blanket and some extra jacket or two for sure.
I like that idea of the candles, though. I'd never heard that before, so you brought something new to us. I appreciate that. That's a good idea. Some people say, Jim just said he carries road flares in his backpack, which would do the same thing. They're definitely not going to burn out, but they're a little more bulky and a little more. That's like the overkill. Yeah. That's the overkill version of the candle.
Well, it's a good sheep hunting trick that we picked up on. Is, just some candles that don't blow out, and they're just better to get a little fire going. If you're coming down to your
exactly.
Your tent or another night.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good thing. I will add that to my list of things that make a lot of sense. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for calling in. That's not a bad idea. The other thing that people used to talk about, and I carry a little bit of it just in case, fire starter, steel wool. Steel wool. That is another thing that makes an amazing thing. And I never thought about road flares as a fire starter, as a light source, and as Brian says, can double as bear protection. Yeah, they probably don't want to carry that as well. I've got I don't carry a Bic. I carry a little. It's a lighter, but it's like a little Pelican lighter. That's basically a torch, almost like a mini torch. That's got protection on it. It's got a shock covering on it and everything else, so I can always start fires if I need to or whatever. But again, the downside is that, you got to keep gas around if you use it all the time, kind of thing. All kinds of different stuff that we can use. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, all right, time to get ready to do it. We got Willie Waffle coming up, the Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share this video. Like and follow the show page. Well, they say all good things must come to an end, and so it is with Firearms Friday. We draw the curtain on all the gun stuff, and we finish up the show today with our weekly entertainment report with the one, the only, Willie Waffle. Yes, that's his real name. I mean, don't look at me. I'm not his mom. That's how it works. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
It's true. Honest to God, I have that name on my driver's license. And yes, I have had to prove this to several Hollywood stars when I was interviewing them, and they're like, "You made that up for radio, didn't you?"
You made that up. You made that up. I can't imagine what it must have been like to be in school. That's all I could say.
I was lucky. I was a strong boy. It's much like the song "A Boy Named Sue."
Yeah, exactly.
You become the toughest, roughest son of a gun this side of Pecos, Texas.
Well, there you go. There you go. Wow, I could just see Willie with a big old piece of hay in his mouth, a straw sticking out of his mouth, with his thumbs in his suspenders, going, "You want to bring it, boy?" All right. Well, let's dive into the news. I don't know where you want to start. How about Russia?
Oh, I know. This is one of my favorite stories of the week. So as you know, the rest of the world is trying to cut off Russia. Okay,
Right.
They're trying to put the sanctions on them. Try to get them, smoke them out of Ukraine. Essentially, well, Hollywood is joining in as well, and literally every Hollywood studio this week said as punishment for invading Ukraine, they will not release their movies in Russia. And all I could think is, oh, yeah, that's going to teach Putin a lesson. He doesn't get to see Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Ooh.
That was my first thought, because that's one of the big releases is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And I'm like, I'm sure he's really bummed about that, And I'm sure that's going to make the rest of Russia go, you know what? I was for this Ukraine thing, but now no Sonic, we riot.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, is Putin sitting back in the palace and he's looking at his cabinet and he goes, okay, guys, listen. We got to take care of this thing by May because I want to see the Maverick, okay? I want to see the new Top Gun movie. I've been waiting 2 years. I'm not going to miss it because of this.
Yeah, maybe that was what the whole rush was to get to the Kiev sooner, so he could make sure he could watch Top Gun, I'm sure. Well, this is just the kind of the cancel of everything. And unfortunately, most of these sanctions, they hit average everyday Russians pretty hard, and they're not getting the full truth there because it's all state-run media and everything else. And so, I mean, who knows? I just, I shake my head. It's the one thing we can do without going full combat arms against them, so I guess we do it, but I don't know how much of a difference it makes.
No, I'm with you. I feel like it's a lot of virtue signaling. I mean, it's one thing to cut off the banks. Okay, it's one thing to cut off supplies going to Russia, but like you said, this is really all about it's going to hurt regular people a heck of a lot more than it's going to hurt Putin. Those guys, they're set. They have their stash. They're going to be taken care of. It's the dude who lives down on the corner who goes to work as a plumber every day, and he's going, man, I wanted to see Batman, and now they took away Batman from me.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, bad juju, but it is what it is. All right, what else? Speaking of communists, Larry David. Sorry, I've never found Larry David to be very funny. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just don't like the snarky type humor. But of course, he's the Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he's the Seinfeld guy and everything else. And he had a big documentary coming until literally the last minute he didn't.
Yeah, this is about as last minute as it gets. So, they've been pushing this big Larry David documentary on HBO. It was gonna premiere on Tuesday, March 1st. It's gonna be the story of his life, an interview interview by Larry Charles, the very famous TV director who's also friends with Larry David. And then on Monday, February 28th, he decides to call HBO. He's like, guys, yeah, don't air that documentary tomorrow. And HBO said, okay. That's the part that gets me.
Yeah.
I mean, literally less than 24 hours out, he convinced them, told them not to run the documentary. Now, the story is that he suddenly thinks that he can do it in a different way, that he wants to maybe have the interview on stage, maybe act out some of the scenes from his life, do something different. Maybe all those things he should have thought about when they started making the documentary the first time around.
Right, because it's in the can. I mean, it's ready to go, right? I mean, and I'm sure it's he's like, oh, no, maybe I want to redo the whole thing. What? I mean, there's got to be a contract somewhere that says you can only pull it for cause. I mean, at some point, it's got to be what?
Well, and that's the thing, too. I mean, Larry David's a big deal at HBO, but is he that big of a deal? I mean, Curb Your Enthusiasm, great show. I love the show, but it's on its last legs, guys. I mean, if he got angry and walked away, I don't think HBO would be hurting that bad over it.
Right. No, it's kind of weird, but he is kind of a weird guy. I guess that's just one of the things. And I mean, a lot of people love his humor. Some of us don't, but I mean, again, I guess I'm a curmudgeon at this point. But okay, so we'll have to wait. Whoever knows how long for Larry David.
They don't have any idea when they're going to be able to do this again. And, he's no spring chicken, people. He might not get it finished.
Well, so then they just air it then. They'll air the other one then, and it'll be over. It'd be
That's
fun.
right. When they
Exactly.
have nothing to lose, to like get as angry as they want.
Exactly. Just go ahead and do it. Be angry as all you're dead. Who cares? All right. Just more proof positive that they got to keep going back to the well because they can't come up with a single original idea. Now they're going to take a classic movie and remake it again. And of course, I'm talking about the Tim Burton classic, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is, they're going to redo it, right? It's Brad Pitt's company. What's the deal?
Well, they're billing it right now as a sequel. Okay, and it's from Brad Pitt's production company, Plan B, and they said they are going to make a sequel. So here we are, 35-ish, 34-ish years later, and they don't really have a plan. They don't really have a story yet. They haven't really signed up anybody from the original, like Winona Ryder or Catherine O'Hara, or the guy you're going to need for the sequel, Michael Keaton.
Right. Yeah, well, that seems like it's kind of a hard idea to do that. I mean, are they recasting, or I mean, what's the deal?
I don't think they know right now. I mean, that's the thing that really gets me. Like they're making this big announcement to get a lot of attention. We're going to do Beetlejuice. But, it's kind of like the Star Wars deal a few weeks ago. Like, we're going to announce that we're going to make another Star Wars movie with the original cast, and the original cast finds out about it because they're reading Variety the next day. They're like, what? I'm making another Star Trek movie? Oh, no, nobody signed you up yet. There's no contract, there's no script, there's nothing. And that's what's happening with Beetlejuice. It's like, Michael Keaton's sitting back going, really? They want to make another one? Nobody told me. You think they want me to know?
Well, that goes cart, horse, and let me call my agent because I'm going to make sure I get a fat hog on this one. I mean, that's,
Oh, yeah. That's the best part. You're basically setting yourself up to be taken to the cleaners.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense. But, I mean, it's Hollywood. Not a lot is making sense in Hollywood recently, so no big surprise there. Okay, well, we'll hear from that. No idea as to when it's going to come out because they don't even have actors yet. So there you go. What else we got here? But Disney Plus, they're adding some good stuff. They took all the Marvel flicks, all the Marvel stuff off Netflix, and I'm talking about like the series like The Punisher, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and they're going to put it on Disney Plus. But the problem is that Disney Plus is supposed to be family friendly, and they got a problem there.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever noticed this on Disney Plus, but you don't see a lot of cursing. You don't see a lot of nudity. Well, that's about to change, people. But to make it change in a way that will not destroy their entire brand, which I remember way back in the day when they created Touchstone Pictures so they could make R-rated movies, and people got upset.
Right.
And I remember way back in the day when the Disney cable channel came out, and they were talking about, well, are they going to show adult movies? Are they going to show PG movies? Well, in today's day and age, they have these things called parental controls.
Right.
And this is what everybody who has Disney Plus needs to know. So starting on March 16th, you will be alerted to update your parental controls to either add or remove various restrictions from each profile. So myself as an adult, I'm going to allow myself to watch anything up to a TVMA rating. Good for me.
Right.
Now, for kids, you'll be able to control like what level that they'll be able to watch. You'll be able to put a little pin, a PIN password, so that if the kid has a profile, you have to put in the PIN before they're allowed to watch something. I mean, this is actually kind of really cool, and this is the kind of stuff that they had originally invented all the TV ratings for. The idea that all these TVs, you'd be able to program them so you could restrict different TV ratings, and that kind of went by the wayside. But I think Disney Plus may be onto something here that other companies are going to want to copy.
Sure, because they already mark everything in the corner when it first starts, and if it's R-rated or MA or PG-13 or whatever else. And so, it makes sense. I mean, I might want to watch something that maybe I don't want a 12-year-old to watch. That makes sense. I'm an adult, they're not. So, boo-hoo. But yeah, no, I dig this. That'll be good. I mean, mine will all be wide open now anyway, but it doesn't matter. But for those that have kids, it makes sense.
I think it makes a ton of sense, and it means that those people who are really big fans of Jessica Jones and Daredevil and Punisher will see the shows the way they were made, the way they were intended.
I love
And
it.
I think there's something to that. I remember, when they brought out, Curb Your Enthusiasm is a great example. Or actually The Sopranos. When The Sopranos, they
Yeah.
tried to syndicate The Sopranos on the A&E network, but they couldn't use all the language, and it just didn't feel like the same show. It didn't feel right, because you knew what words they were saying. You knew
Right.
that it fit within those characters and in
Right.
those stories, but they weren't saying them.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it just took something away from The Sopranos. And I think that's what happens here too, because this is the rawness of these programs, the grittiness of these programs.
We only got about 2.5, 3 minutes left. So
Okay.
Worst Roommate Ever is a Netflix documentary. I think we can talk about that next week.
Yeah.
So let's talk about The Batman. It's a 3-hour movie, so we better have a 3-minute review.
Okay. So here's the deal. Boy, does it take a long time to get going. Oh my God. So first of all, they're not reinventing Batman or reintroducing Batman, but they're tweaking Batman. So it's still kind of the same basic story. He's a vigilante. We're picking up 2 years into after he started doing it. And there's this mysterious figure that they refer to as the Riddler, who is knocking off all of the rich and powerful people of Gotham City,
right.
Promising that they are getting punished for what they've done in the past. And Batman is going to discover what they've been doing in the past, and he might not like where it leads.
Uh-oh. I understand there's a Catwoman, too. I mean, there's all
Yep,
kinds of characters
we have
here.
Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Once again, kind of, the object of Batman's affections.
Right.
We do have, and this is my favorite casting, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, wearing a fat suit that makes you realize that they could have just hired another actor. Like, it doesn't look like him. It doesn't sound like him. I'm sure he's having a lot of fun, but the rest of us are like, dude, who's that guy playing Penguin?
Well, that's good. I understand this Bruce Wayne is a little darker, a little rougher, a little... he's not as suave and debonair. He's kind of more of a roughy.
He's emo millennial Batman.
Oh God.
There's not a lot of angst. There's not a lot of emotion. I think this is one of my problems with the movie is that it takes about an hour and a half until the movie starts to feel thrilling, until it starts to feel like there's something emotionally going on. It's very flat and very bland. It's bland, man, for an hour and a half. Because there's just not anything that's grabbing you. But luckily, all of that pays off in the end.
Okay.
Luckily.
So it takes a while to speed up, but maybe they could have edited it a little different and made it work. But down to the last 45 seconds here. So -1 to 4 waffles. Batman, the Batman. What do we say?
I'm going 2.5 waffles.
Okay.
And in DC style, let me put it this way. In DC movie style, you can wait until the end of the credits to see a little something that's not important to the story, but they give you most of the setup for the next movie before the credits roll.
Okay. All right. We'll have to watch it. 2.5 waffles, the Batman. Is it big screen or can I stream it quickly?
I think you could stream it.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to know. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Folks, we are out of time. We will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Live well. Be kind. We'll see you then. Okay, Willie, I'm kind of bummed because I was hoping it would be good, but, I don't know. Chris Nolan's Batman, still one of the best. Well, actually, Michael Keaton and the Jack Burton or the Tim Burton one is, it's odd. It's not the same as the modern day, but it was like the first superhero movie that really made it. So I'm kind of nostalgic about that one. But Chris Nolan's The Batman was really, or Dark Knight was really kind of like, I think that was like the pinnacle at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I think one of the hardest parts of watching this Batman for me was I kept thinking back to how Nolan did it, how Christian Bale did it, and I'm like, oh God, that was so much better. Just, everything about it, the character arcs, the storytelling, the music, the action scenes, just the raw everything about it. And this Batman just feels a little detached. I kind of joke about him being the emo millennial Batman, but he kind of is.
Yeah.
He's detached emotionally. The whole movie is detached emotionally. There's no fire. There's no brimstone, and it needs it.
I don't know how DC keeps stepping in it. You know, they do one or two good ones and then they just fall apart. I don't know what it is, but I guess we'll see what happens. We should review The Peacemaker. Did we talk about that? We talked about it a little bit, but
we talked a lot about The Peacemaker at the beginning. I have to get caught up to the finale. But, you know, I was a big fan of Peacemaker when it first premiered. I saw the first several episodes.
Yeah.
I think John Cena's hilarious. I love kind of the whole idea that there's this other kind of, you know, there's this other story going on underneath that we have to find out. The way that every agent in this whole entire program is somehow trying to use it for some evil. You know?
No, I love it. Of course, James Gunn, I think, is one of the big reasons why that's working. But all right, we'll get caught up. We'll talk about that soon. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Hey, you got it. We'll talk to you next week.
Folks, we will see you on Monday. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.